You didn't sit for ethics. You left.
Okay. Yes. All right, guys. So let's begin. Okay. So these are the things that we will cover in today's class. So you are attending for the first time. So any doubts, if you have, you can ask, even if it is very basic. Okay. Others also, of course. So one is the major port and corporatization of the major ports. So there are a total 13 ports in India. Now out of that, one port, that is the Kamarajar port in Innor, has been already corporatized. There are 12 more major ports that are there. The government is planning to corporatize that as well. Corporatize means the ownership will still remain with the government of India, but the operations of the port and all will be given to private companies. That is what is corporatization. You're not disinvesting, you're not selling it off, you are just giving them to operate these ports, maybe to get higher efficiency. What all is what we will see in this topic. Next is the evolution of India's labor movements. So we'll go into the history of India's labor movements. We'll see when the first Factories Act had come. So the laborers used to be exploited previously also, they are exploited now also. Now the article talks about how the cycle is getting complete and repeated. That during the British period, the laborers were exploited, but people fought for their rights, and the Factories Act came in, certain provisions were made. After independence also trade unions were formed, but then they got fragmented on the political lines, and now the 4 labor codes have come, which are again making it difficult for the laborers to fight for their rights. So how is this? Why is that the case? All that is what we will see over here. So very important, especially from the perspective of mains. Okay? Next is the mission for cotton productivity. Few months back also it was in news. It's again in news now because the cabinet has given a go ahead for over 5,000 crore rupees worth of project of mission cotton productivity, wherein we want to increase the productivity of our cotton. Presently it is 440 kgs per hectare, which is 1/5 of what actually China produces. We need to improve it. So that is the mission for cotton productivity. Next is RBI's strategic gold repatriation. Repatriation, basically our gold was stored outside India. So now we are getting the gold back into India. We'll understand why this gold was stored outside, and then what is the need for us to bring it back right now. What does this mean? At the same time, related to this, what all is the geopolitical situation presently, how difficult it is, what will be the fallout of this, and what we can do to avoid or to improve the situation. Last is the ILO's complaint, the complaint in the ILO, that is International Labour Organization, by the tea planters. So again, this is to an extent related to this labor codes only, right? And the tea planters union basically have complained to the International Labour Organization. Now, is this internationalizing the domestic issue? Should they do that? Should they raise an issue which is a domestic issue on the international organization or not? What do you think? Yes? Yeah, it's a question.
Like if it's not solved by the
okay. Okay.
Organized by India, then obviously someone else.
Very good, fair enough. Also, there is a rationale behind this. India is a member of this. There are total 10 different conventions, out of which for 6 India has ratified them. And one of them that has been ratified, using that ratification which India has ratified, saying that we will follow that. But these planters are complaining that that is not being followed. So taking that particular convention under Article 24 of the ILO, they have gone to ILO for the complaint. Okay? So yes, that is possible. You can go and complain if it is being not addressed within the country. Okay? So let's get started with the very first one, major port corporatization in India. Now the question is, what is a major port? What is a major port?
No,
acha, what is a major port?
So where more like business happens.
More business happens. More business.
Mainly imports and export happens.
Imports and exports, ठीक है, mainly that will only happen. So in minor ports also imports and exports happen. Why is this major and the others are minor? Of course, they are bigger. The volume of trade that they carry, capacity is higher. Also, the union government, the government of India basically regulates them, right? Whereas you will have the minor ports within the states will have some hold on the governance of that port. But yes, one point is clear that they are massive, they are big, the volume of trade there is quite high. As I said, 13 are there, out of them one has been corporatized, which is this, the Kamarajar port. This is the one that has already been corporatized. So what the government is trying to do is trying to transition from what? Remember these acts, Major Port Trusts Act of 1963. So till now the ports, they act as a trust. They are government body, the government only operates under the various trusts that they have formed. So they will form the JNPT trust, JNP trust, the Jawaharlal Nehru Port Trust. Okay, under that is how they operate. So now the government wants to change it to the Major Ports Authorities Act, wherein the operations will be done by the MNCs, or you can say by the corporates. That is why we are saying it is the corporatization of the port. Okay, so you will remember this for prelims. Will you transfer the ownership? You will not transfer the ownership. You will simply allow them to do the operations. Right. The question is, why are you going to allow them to do the operations? The answer is, whenever you think of private entity or the government involving private entity, 2-3 things are very important. When the private entity gets involved, modernization will take place because they will get more investments, more capital, more money will come, they will modernize it. Efficiency may also increase. The price in the port, the fees in the port will be market determined. Okay? So we can only then compete with the topmost ports of the world, or else it is quite difficult for the government alone to compete with the other ports of the world when it is the sole player in the market. So you can see over here, improve efficiency, global competitiveness will improve. Okay? These are the reasons why we are, let's say, going for the corporatization of the ports. This is a fact, Kamarajar port, which is India's first corporatized port. Okay? Yes, so this is the question, what is this corporatization? So corporatization is nothing but shift from the trust model where the government was operating to the authority or the company model wherein the commercial entity will operate. Okay. Now remember, if a new port comes in and it is directly owned by the corporate or built by the corporate and operated by the corporate, that will not be a corporatized port, because they started as a corporate, it ends as a corporate. The port to be corporatized needs to be non-corporate port previously. This concept you would see in nationalization of banks. So nationalized banks are what? The banks which were previously private has been changed into national banks. That is why they are nationalized. Whereas if you look at SBI has been the public sector banks forever. So that's not a nationalized bank. Both are public sector, but one is not a nationalized, the other one is nationalized. So corporatization, for corporatization to happen, the ports need not first be corporatized beforehand. Beforehand, it should not have a private ownership or operation. It should be owned, operated by the government or the trust, and now you are corporatizing them. That is important. Need, as I have mentioned, faster professional decision making, financial independence, market link, tariff flexibility will be there, better competition with the private ports. Private ports like not within India also, not just foreign, within India. So within India, you have the Adani port, right? It's a private port. So can the government ports compete with them with respect to the efficiency? Volume might be high, but the efficiency might be low. So you have to compete with them, let alone competing with ports in Singapore, which were one of the most efficient ports of the world. Okay? So these are the reasons why you would be. One important thing here is the decision making. See, because the ports presently are under the trust, they are under the bureaucratic system. And in bureaucratic system, there is a very big issue of red tapeism. Red tapeism. What is this? You know, the file might be in front of you as a bureaucrat, but you are not taking any decision on that. So that is red tapeism. multiple times it can happen because you know what is right, but you are being pressurized to maybe to do something else, so you're not doing anything over there. Okay, so that and other situations may lead to basically the red tapeism that is present in Indian bureaucracy. Okay, major ports in India, they are governed under Major Ports Authorities Act of 2021. 12 government controlled major ports. I have already told you, one corporatized major port. This also we have seen. Yes, let's look at the challenges that is being faced by the ports in India. These are some important challenges. Now, when you have a port, the depth near the harbor is important. What is a harbor? So, this particular thing, the ship is coming over here. This here is the connectivity to the land. So the ship is coming, the ship will harbor or come over here, get itself parked over here. So we here for vehicles call it parking. The car is parked in the parking. So the ship is basically harboring at this harbor. Okay? So the parking area of the ship where the goods will be removed and new goods will be loaded on that is nothing but the harbor area. So in the middle of the ocean, of course, the depth would be very high. But as you come to the shore, as you come to the harbor, the depth reduces. But for a port to function well, the depth over here is also needed. A huge depth is needed here as well. So the requirement of depth for especially the ultra large container vessel is around 16 to 18 meters. But a lot of our Indian ports do not have that depth. You can see this is 13. So Cochin port 13. You have Mumbai port where 15, then you have this is Dubai port, okay? This is Colombo port, and this is Singapore port. If you look at Singapore port, it is at 18. Okay? So a lot of our ports, you will get this PDF, a lot of our ports that are there, they do not have the requisite depth. So since they don't have the requisite depth, ultra large container harboring there becomes very much difficult. It becomes difficult, so smaller vessels will come, efficiency will lower down, that is a big issue. So we need to have a look at that also. Why is this important? Because 75% of India's container cargo, the ships that are there, we are now using Colombo port, other ports as well. Of course we use it. Why do we use it? Is because not necessarily to simply transfer the goods to Colombo, but if we have to go further southeast or other places, it takes a stop as well, or it is coming from somewhere and going somewhere else, so they also stop. Okay, let's look at the logistic connectivity over here. Another issue with the port is the poor last mile connectivity. So your goods might have reached the harbor, but from harbor, how will it come to you? So what is the closest harbor from Karnataka? Right, it will be quite far, hundreds of kilometers away. So even after, so it can only facilitate to the the states with maritime boundary. For other states, again it has to travel. So if it has to travel the hinterland of India, again you have to have railways, again you have to have roadways. In fact, after the ship you take it in the railways, then from the railways again you have to come to the roadways, right? Because roadways is the one that provides you literally door to door connectivity, which they do not. So what do we need for this? We would then need for this dedicated freight corridors which have good connectivity with the ports, and they are dedicated for the shipment, the courier or the goods. Okay. This is the logistics cost. India's logistics cost is 13 to 14% of the GDP, whereas in the developed countries it is 8 to 10%. Okay. One most important point, I don't know, this article did not mention, we have seen this in previous class, is the turnaround time of the ships, which is very high in India. Turnaround time, the time taken for the ship, the moment ship reaches the harbor, the time starts. You will unload, then you will load something else and the ship goes back. So this time duration is known as the turnaround time, the time taken for the ship to come, unload, reload and be on its way. So for Indian ports, this turnaround time is quite high. In fact, the fastest Indian port has roundabout the turnaround time, which is an average turnaround time of the rest of the world. So Singapore ports have a turnaround time of 18, 20 hours. But Indian ports take 1.5, 2 days as well. Okay? Why that is happening? Because automation is not there. We are not using magnetic levitation facility. Automation is not being used. Manually we are hinging the things and lifting everything, and then it is also manually controlled. So it takes a lot of time for us to do the port operations. Okay, let's see what the strategy should be. Of course, the very first thing that you have to do is infrastructure development. Increase the harbor depth to 18 plus meters. How can you do that? Can you increase the depth? Not easy, difficult, but can you do that? Yes, of course you can do that. See the manner in Mumbai, a lot of areas just near the seashore are being recovered in the sense that low amount of water depth is there. They are loading the aggregates and everything and making it plain and making it like an island, like a land wherein a lot of things are coming up. In the same manner, what you can do is, see, there will be seabed over here full of sand, for example. So what you have to do is, you have to dig all that out. Now, if you dig all that out, it can also lead to a huge amount of ecological and environmental sustainability issue. You will literally destroy the aquaculture that is present, or aquatic ecosystem that is present. So all those things will happen. But yes, if you want to have the development, this is something that would be required to be done. You can create that. Modernize the cranes and cargo system. As I mentioned, modernize the crane, make it automatic. Right, automatic as in the moment the crane comes on this, you start the electromagnetic system, it directly attaches on all the side and it lifts it up. But that is not the case right now. So you can modernize this. Then develop the mega transshipment hubs like the Galathea Bay International Container Transshipment Port. What is this? Where this is? This is what you should know. So might be related to economy, but you can have geography related question as well. This Galathea Bay port which is there, it is there in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Okay. Now it is being news that Andaman and Nicobar Islands will be developed for transportation, etc. If you are following the news, so this place becomes important for you. Then you have the concept of digitization. So digitalization, use of blockchain technology, use of Internet of Things. What is Internet of Things? Yes, what is Internet of Things? No, I am asking him. Yes. Operated by Internet. So what is the concept of Internet of Things? In this class, do you think this class is functioning as an Internet of Things? Huh? Yes? Very good. How? Yes, do you think this class is functioning as an Internet of Things? I am asking a question. Is this class functioning as on the basis of the concept of Internet of Things? I am asking her. I know you know the answer. Good. I appreciate that. Give others also a chance. Yes? Yes? You don't know. Bataiye. Now you tell me, please.
So, Internet of Things means, for example, if I on this light, automatically the Wi-Fi should start and automatically the screen should start.
That's the thing. So I can have a common power switch. So that will be, but okay, that is good. What she is trying to say is almost everything needs to be connected to the internet. Right, I'm wearing a watch, should be connected to the internet. My specs connected to the internet. So automatically through remote you can control it and change whatever you want. You can change this. This is a gloss over here. You can change it into transparent, whatever. The seats are there. Everything that you can see, your fridge, your AC, your washing machine, everything will be connected to internet. That is the concept of Internet of Thing. So the world is moving towards the Internet of Thing. We have not yet reached the place wherein the society is full of Internet of Things. So Internet of Things is a concept wherein all the things that you can think of, almost all of them are connected to the internet. This concept has been asked in prelims in 2016. So if any cutting edge technology comes up, at least you should know what that is, because they simply gave a huge paragraph. Imagine a situation wherein your fridge is connected to the internet, your fridge is connected to mobile. Through mobile you can operate XYZ thing. This particular situation best describes what? The answer is Internet of Things. Okay? So let's see other strategy for global competitiveness. Multi-modal connectivity. Multi-modal connectivity means multiple modes will be there. So ship, this is the shipping route. You connect it with the dedicated freight corridors, which will be railways, then connected with the roadways properly using expressways, highways, etc. This is multi-modal connectivity. Connectivity should be proper, or else what will happen is, why this is important? Because your port is over here, right? So now this port needs connectivity here, but you are making dedicated freight corridor somewhere here. What about this? Right? So you need to start connecting this grid from right here at the port. So this is your dedicated freight corridor, for example, and then your expressways, highways. So you have to connect it with different modes of transportation. Okay? That is how you should plan in a comprehensive manner. Okay? So what's the target that is there? Increase the coastal shipping share from 6% to 12% by 2047. This is 6 to 12% of GDP by 2047. There is also a concept of green port actually. In this article it was not given, but it can be asked, the concept of green port. So this is a traditional port over here and this is a green port. The difference is, when you are making a traditional port, you completely disregard the environment that will be harmed, the ecology that will be harmed. So if you are coming up with a port that is a green port, you will take the ecology of that area into consideration and ensure that minimum impact is done over there and they are not harmed over there. Okay? So how can you make that arrangement? No, you might have to shift those things. You might have to create an artificial area wherein these species can be there and who are safe also. So if you have certain, let's say coral reefs are there, so you cannot destroy the coral reefs, right? So you need to check the depth. If the depth is enough, then that is fine. You can maybe check the place where the ports will be constructed based on how low impact it will have on ecological sensitivity. Okay? So that's the concept of green ports. Also in these green ports, what will happen is, green energy will also be used. Now green energy, for example, you will use green hydrogen. Now green hydrogen is basically a very clean source of energy. What is green hydrogen? Which color it is? Green hydrogen. It has nothing to do with color. Huh? So green hydrogen basically, see, you have water. So in water you basically pass current and you split the oxygen and the hydrogen molecules into two. Using the renewable energy, you will split it and then you will get the hydrogen molecule which will be separate. Like this, you will separate oxygen, you will separate hydrogen, you will get huge amount of hydrogen which can be then used as a fuel. Okay? It is green because the energy that you will be using to split these two molecules will be renewable energy that you will be using, and when you burn hydrogen, it is not going to produce much of the pollution as such. Okay? The issue with hydrogen is that it is highly combustible. It is highly combustible, so you cannot store it alone, right? It may catch fire very easily. That is the challenge with it. Okay, so those are some additional points. Just let me see how this can be. Anyway, surely. Okay, so next is the evolution of India's labor movements that have been there. Okay, so India's labor movement, it starts, who's the father of the labor movement in India? Yes, anyone knows his name? चलिए आएगा वो कहीं ना कहीं. You saw it? हाँ ठीक है. In history it is there. He is Lokhande, I think, from Maharashtra. I don't know, don't remember the state, but Lokhande generally names are from Maharashtra. But yes. So why is this in news? This is in news because 4 labor laws have been implemented by the government. Now those labor laws are said to be, let's just understand it, then we'll go through this bookish kind of a thing here. Okay? and you will get this PDF also. So what has happened is 4 labor codes have been implemented, right? This 4 labor codes are nothing but this is a compilation or a consolidation of total 29 codes that were there have been compiled into 4. Now what is the issue that the laborers are finding in this? The issue that they are finding is that these labor laws have made it difficult for them to basically unite for their rights, to demand for their rights. Why have they made it difficult? Let us understand this. So for example, let's imagine that this organization had 100 faculties or 100 employees working from office, right? So, let's say if something has happened which is not good for the employees, right, including me. So I would reach out to my manager, or let's say it's a proper organization with hierarchy, manager, general manager, maybe the founders, the owners, right? A single person reaching out, you know how difficult it is? Hundreds and thousands of people, single person reaching out, it's very difficult. My request may not be paid heed to. But what I can do, the employees can have something known as a union. That means we can unite together, right? We can unite together, and let's say 15-20 people may unite together, and then we raise the issue together. And not necessarily that the issue should affect all 100. Maybe it is against me only, but we all raise the issue. Maybe it's against you only, but we all raise the issue together. So now what happens? We have formed a union, so we have a better leverage. Because if I am alone, they can kick me out, get someone on board, end of story. But if all of us are united, then it's very difficult for them to kick all of us out, because they also have to run business, so they will have to pay heed to that. So that is the concept of having a union. Okay? Now what they have done is, they have said that minimum 51% requirement is there for the majority, for the group to be considered as a union. That means what? That means if 1,000 employees are working, right, maybe everyone may not be interested to form a union. It's their choice. You cannot even force, no, you have to be in movies, it is shown, no, you have to be a part, why are you not part? That's their choice. But the idea is, in this organization, let's say someone tried to make a union and someone could garner 300 people together. They could previously still form a union, and they could previously still come together and basically reach out to the owners or to whoever the authority is to get their work done. Now requirement is 51. That means till the time you have 510 people on board, you will not be considered as a union. So anything that you do will not be under the ambit of the law as such. Okay? So what you are doing is putting this restriction on forming the union itself. That's one thing. Second, when certain things have been, let's say somehow you manage to get 500. Now this can also lead to horse trading that generally we see in the state assembly elections, after the elections in a hung assembly. People are being paid money to be on their side. Imagine for a situation that the institute or the organization gets to know that 490 people are on the side, or maybe approximately 510 people are on the side. What does the organization have to do? Just buy one person, 509, or at least for safer side, buy 10 people. Remove their majority. Again, they will not be considered. So they have to please only, they have to take care of just 10 people. So this is also going to be a problem over here. Okay. Now somehow you manage to get 510 people on your side. Now what happens? You complain about the issues that you are facing. Now nothing is being done, and it's been a long time, nothing is being done. So you were allowed to strike. Go on a strike. Strike means you have decided you will not work from right now, today. Now why is that? So as to give you a leverage, so as to put pressure on the organization that you are not working, production will be down, revenue will not come, profit will take a hit. But you cannot do that. You will have to give 60 days notice to start the strike. 60 days notice to start a strike. So if you give notice today on 15th of May, then June, July, maybe 16th of July is when you can start your strike. Before that, you cannot start your strike. Then what happens on 16th of July, let's say you can start your strike, and today is 15th May. Now what happens? Due to some reason, either you or the organization have reached out to the courts because of some matter. The matter has gone to the court, right? Someone's salary is not given, someone's increment is not made. So what happens on 15th of July? Let's say the matter is in the court. Now, since the matter is sub judice in the court, you again cannot strike because the matter is sub judice in the court. Okay? Means it's under the consideration of the court. And now you know, with crores of cases pending, the delays will definitely be there. So till the time it is there, you cannot basically strike. Now let's say after a few months, or let's say it is very fast, in a week or two, you got some judgment. Now since you get some judgment over here, right, you may still be aggrieved, you may still not be okay with that judgment. So if let's say on 30th August you got the judgment, on 31st August you again cannot strike. You have to wait for another 60 days to basically strike. Okay? So the workers are saying that our rights are being played with. Right? That is exactly what is happening right now. Okay? So in this, some history is also mentioned. The different phases are mentioned over here. Features of the early phase. So India's industrialization began with the textile and jute mills that were there. At that time, no formal organizations existed. Okay. Then in 1875, remember the name S.S. Bengali. He led the protest against poor conditions of women and children in the Bombay factories, which will give rise to the very first Factories Act will be there. Very first Factories Act will come into place. Factories Act 1881. In history also you will read your Factories Act, first Factories Act, second Factories Act, third Factories Act. Very important factually for your prelims. How do you remember is, see, who is scared the most about? Women and children. Remember it like that. So the first Factory Act is going to talk about women and children. Men are going to come later. Their health well-being is going to be talked about it later. But so that is how you can remember. So this is what came in, and it regulated the child labor and the working hours of the children. Then it comes to the women, and then finally the men's also time will be regulated. So this has been, yes, this is the person N.M. Lokhande. He founded the Bombay Mill Hands Association. It's another trade union he founded, right? He is considered the father of India's labor movement, N.M. Lokhande. You will also see him in modern history book. He was also a freedom fighter in 1890. Okay. Then you have the modern trade unions. Modern trade unions, again, very close to the independence time. Madras Labor Union, formation of All India Trade Union Congress. It is affiliated to the Indian National Congress, the AITUC. Okay. Modern tradeism. Then what has happened is post-independence labor politics. What has happened is post-independence. Right now you are seeing that these let's say trade unions are going to court, going to ILO with their complaints, but you would not see Bharatiya Mazdoor Sangh complaining about it. Right? Why? Because the trade unions that are there, the trade unions in India, they basically have got fragmented, and they have got fragmented based on the politics, based on the political party's affiliation. So you have the Bharatiya Mazdoor Sangh, which is affiliated to the political party who is in power at the center. So you will not see them going to court against the wage codes or the codes, labor codes that have been brought in. So then what happens? It basically defeats the entire purpose of having these kind of trade unions, because now you are that is a trade union associated to the political party which is presently in power at the center. Bharatiya Mazdoor Sangh. Bharatiya means Indian, Mazdoor means labor, Sangh means organization. So Indian labor organization, basically that's the meaning of it. So this is another issue that the trade unions are facing. So you have Bharatiya Mazdoor Sangh. This is linked with RSS, Rashtriya Sevam Sangh, and the political party, right? Currently, it is the largest trade union of India. Then you have the Center of Indian Trade Union. Now, this is the trade union that has raised concern, and this is associated with Communist Party of India, Marxist. Okay? Yes, this is the symbol. In the beginning also, I have shown you the symbol. What are these two things? What do they signify? Yes, what do they signify? Yes. So you can see this particular thing. This is used for agriculture, for cutting the crop, rice. This is a hammer used by industrial workers. So these are basically agriculture workers. These are basically the industrial workers. These are the two workers that are there. If you look at communism in China and communism in Russia, they both have been communist countries to certain extent. Many communists argue they are not communist properly in nature, fair enough, but they have been communist. But they have also been quite anti each other in the past. Reason being, the China's communism was initially, if I'm talking about the beginning of 1900s, 1910, 1920s. So Chinese communism was related to agricultural workers, and Russian USSR's communism was that of industrial workers. So problems were different, solutions were different, enemies were different. Right, so they were not able to basically relate with each other. But now these organizations that you find in India also, the labor unions, etc., they have this as their symbol. Someone may still have only the hasya, which is used to cut the crop, but may also have this hammer. So this is the unity between the industrial as well as the agricultural workers. Okay. This party, as we have seen over here, CPIM. What is this? Communist Party of India, Marxist. Now, Marxist party follows Marxism basically. It is based on the teachings of, who's that? Karl Marx. Karl Marx. Now, he basically gave the call, workers of the world unite, you have nothing to lose but chains. So, he is the reason probably why certain rules or regulations or benefits are transferred to the people. Okay? Chaliye. But if you have Marxist literature in your house, you can be jailed as well for that. Okay? Labor code I have talked about. 29 existing labor laws were there, have been converted into 4. Please read what those 4 are. The names at least you should remember. Okay? Key concerns I have already told you. 51% support is the threshold for recognizing the trade union. 60-day notice period requirement for coming up with a strike. If the matter is sub judice, you cannot again strike. At the same time, if the judgment has been given, again 60 days of cooling period is there. Okay, so this basically weakens the collective bargaining power. Also, the gig workers and such platforms, they are not generally having their own union as such, which is so united. Okay. Challenges is what? One challenge is the informalization of labor. Huge economy of India is in the informal sector. So informal sector laborers are not uniting with each other as such. They are not forming within the organized sector only. You are not making them form. So unorganized sector or informal sector laborers are also not united. Gig economy vulnerabilities are there. They are also not united as such. However, because of social media platform, what can happen is connectivity can happen, wherein there was a day wherein Swiggy, Blinkit, Zomato, these delivery people actually were going on a strike. Okay? Yes, so what you can do is strengthen their social security, ensure that fair collective bargaining power is there with them. Their remuneration should be of a considerable level, certain level, minimum wages concept, insurance concept. Now the government is coming up with the concept of having provident fund, etc. also for them. So let's see how it gets implemented. It is promised in the budget as of now. Sure. Let's move ahead to the next one, that is Mission for Cotton Productivity. As I mentioned, the Union Cabinet has given an approval of Exact number is not required. Just about above 5,000 crore rupees of outlay for mission cotton productivity. Period is important from 2026-27 to 2030-31. What is the aim? Increase cotton productivity, quality, reduce pest related losses, especially the pink bollworm that is there, which causes a big issue to the cotton crops. Remember that name. So safeguard it from the pests, increase the productivity, increase the quality. Okay? And if you do that, imports will reduce. Not imports, now that we have also started exporting as well, the cost will also go down. It will strengthen India's textile competitiveness as well. India's biggest rivals in the textile sector is Bangladesh, Vietnam. These are the countries which give very cheap textile. Okay. Their labor is even more overworked than the Indian labor. Their labor is even more cheap than the Indian labor. Okay. That is also one of the reasons over there. So let's look at some of the features of this. Yes, as I mentioned, it was announced last year's budget. It is coming now. Now, some important fact over here, India is the only country which grows all 4 species of cotton. So in the handout, you will be given the types of cotton which are mentioned over here and which cotton is from which region. You'll get it in the notes. You can read it. I'll just tell you. There is cotton from Egypt, Asian cotton and American cotton as well. All these 4 types of cotton are grown in India. India is the only country that does that. Also, India has around 40% of the total cotton cultivating land is in India. Right? So basically 324 lakh hectares of land around the world is used only for cotton production. Out of this, 130 lakh hectare is in India itself. This is 40%. 40%. Right? But is the production 40%? No, it is not. China basically tops the production. Productivity is 5 times that of India. Okay? So its cultivated area is lesser, around half or even less, but productivity is 5 times. So it grows more than 2.5 times that of India. Okay? So that is why productivity is what we have targeted. Remember this. So that is how you will also remember that we are targeting what? We are targeting the productivity. We are not targeting to increase the area of acreage area as such. We are targeting the productivity over here. And also remember that cotton is the only crop in which we are using the GM seeds, genetically modified seeds. The only crop in India which is a GM crop is the cotton crop, a non-food crop. Important facts for your prelims. Who are involved in this implementation? Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, right? And Ministry of Textiles. Both the ministries are involved. Institutions, which are the institutions? ICAR and CSIR. These are research institutions basically. These are government research institutions. Okay? Yes. Yes guys, any questions so far? You guys are understanding everything? Yes. Sure. Let's look at some of the targets. So cotton production target 498 lakh bales. So these are important words. What is a bale? This which you see over here is a bale, right? The complete roll of this is how it is. Cotton is also transported from one place to another. So we are targeting to produce 498 lakh such bales is what we are targeting. Okay? Increase productivity, as I said, 440 is our productivity right now. We are almost doubling it, not completely double, but 755 kg per hectare. How can it be possible? Of course, because we have GM crops, so you can further modify those GM crops to increase the productivity so that it can be possible. Almost, we cannot double the area. Already the area is very high. So it is only going to happen if you increase the productivity. Beneficiaries, around 32 lakh farmers will be the beneficiaries of this scheme. Why India needs this scheme? Because productivity is low, right? The pink bollworm attack is there, pest attacks are there. So these are the issue. That is why we need it. So this is China over here. So China produces about the world's 29% of world's cotton is produced by China. India has the world's 40% of cotton cultivation land, but is producing only 19% of the cotton. So it would be safe to say that our productivity is about half than the average productivity of the rest of the world, 5.1 metric tons. Okay. So China is the largest producer. Some of the times many factual questions are being asked, so you should remember top 3-4 countries. China first, India second, Brazil, USA, and because fifth is Pakistan, maybe probably remember that as well, but first 3 is good enough. Okay. Yes, it automatically gets now I understood. Okay. Chali, major challenges: dependence on imports, climatic vulnerability. It needs huge number of sunny days. Where the flower is blossoming, it needs sunny days. If it rains at that time or hailstorm, not just rains, our cotton production also sees hailstorms. Okay. Cotton is prominently grown in Maharashtra, which is a very hot region, but somehow during May also it will rain, and now 2 days back it rained. Hopefully the cotton crop has been cultivated or taken out, but anyway, so the regions, semi-arid regions which are highly affected climatically: Vidarbha, as I said, Vidarbha in Maharashtra, Marathwada also in Maharashtra, then you have Telangana. These are the regions that are being impacted as well. Okay. Then what else need? Okay, other things are fine. Significance of the mission. So it supports textile sector's 5F vision. You know F5, you know F5, what is F5? WWE, Brock Lesnar, F5. So this is what 5F. Farm to fiber to factory to fashion to foreign. Okay? These things are comedy, but you should remember it for your mains exam. Okay? For mains exam, when you are writing, you can conclude your answer with that. You can say things like that. Okay? These strategies and all you can mention in your mains basically. And then enhance farmers' income. They are enhancing farmers' income since decade. They are not able to, but anyway, enhancing the farmers' income, and it will create rural livelihoods as well. Strengthen India's textile sector. These things you can derive from what all we have done. Okay, promotes sustainable agriculture, improve India's position in global textile market. These you can logically derive that it will be. So we are not much focusing on that. Okay. Sure. Yes, this is something that is now important. RBI strategic gold repatriation. So basically, the situation was such that majority of our gold was in Bank of England and Bank of International Settlement, and minority of our gold was with our own central bank, that is RBI. Okay. The reason for this was, the RBI keeps on doing open market operations, so the liquidity of our gold needs to be available in the market, in the global market. That is why it was stored over there. Okay? That was the reason. However, there are two things. When you store your gold, you are not given money on that. When you take a locker in a bank, you have to pay for it. So you have to pay a fees for it. But that's not the main reason why we are getting the gold back. In the last 3 years, we have got over 300 tons of gold back in our country. Okay? So why are we getting it back? We are getting it back because of the uncertainty that is happening in the world, because of geopolitical uncertainty, because of wars, conflicts, right, protectionism. All these things are happening. So our gold, it's better that it is safe in our country, not somewhere else. That is why we are bringing the gold back. So out of the total 880 plus tons of, this is 880.83, something like that. So out of 880 tons of gold, now only approximately 197, 198 is left with Bank of England and Bank of International Settlement. Okay? And majority of the gold, that means 680 plus tons of gold, is back is not back in India. Back in India is 300 something. So total gold stored in India right now is 680 plus, and 300 plus have been brought back in the last 3 years. So before 3 years, what was the situation? 200 plus 300, 500, and here it was just 380 or something. But now we have brought in, so now majority of our gold is with us. Okay. Now, if you look at the foreign exchange reserves. So if you look at the foreign exchange reserves, previously, so we have a total of $700 billion of foreign exchange, which has now gone down because the RBI is selling the dollars and the foreign exchange to keep the Indian rupee still, to ensure that Indian rupee does not depreciate much. We'll see that. But out of this, so 3 years ago, 11% was the share of the gold in the foreign exchange in 2023, round about 11%. Now that has basically increased to 17%. Okay? So that is the idea. We'll see that in detail. Why this is happening is the countries throughout the world are wanting to diversify the foreign exchange. They are wanting to diversify the foreign exchange. Now, how do you diversify the foreign exchange? India has majority of it is in foreign currency notes. In that, majority of them is in dollars. So we would like to spend the dollar and buy the gold. Okay? That will help us diversify. Buy other currency, buy gold also. So RBI has also bought huge amount of gold as well. Okay? So that is why this is happening. So gold brought back in India, see 168, 107, this is, so basically 378 tons have been brought in the last 3 years. 378, 380 pakad lijiye, 380 tons. And 300 was already there, and now only around 197.67 is still held abroad, which is considerably low, and I think that will be enough for our open market operation. These are mainly stored in Bank of England, Bank of International Settlement. Mainly means out of this 197, almost 195, 196, almost all is stored in these two places. Okay. Yes, RBI now holds 77% of our total gold reserves are now held by us. 3 years back, it was simply 38%. Okay, that is fair enough. Total gold with us is basically 880 metric tons that I have told you. Some facts which are important, you can go through them. Recent geopolitical significance triggered by the global uncertainties. 3 years back, what started? Russia-Ukraine war. That was actually the trigger. And then afterwards, the world never stabilized only, right? We are still in a situation where a lot of war are going somewhere or the other. If you ask theoretically right now, which are the countries are at war right now or are not at peace, basically over 60 wars are presently ongoing. Now, how am I saying 60? We know maybe 1 or 2 only that is going on. US, Israel attacking Iran, and maybe the genocide that is going on in Palestine, for example. The war as in, for example, North Korea and South Korea are technically still at war. Okay? The war ends with either someone's victory, someone capturing, or with a truce, or with an armistice, or with a peace treaty, right? So that has not happened. So like this, a lot of open-ended wars are still there, which may not be actually actively fought as such, but technically speaking, those countries are still at war. Okay? Plus, you have African countries, Sudan, South Sudan, all those areas, there also war and all is still going on. Okay? It's just that if people are not white, people don't care about them as such. Okay? Let's move ahead. So here in Ukraine, what happened? They are whites. So that is why the entire world knows about Russia and Ukraine war. Okay? So that is the trigger for us also to bring the gold back, and it kept on continuing and we kept on bringing the gold back. Yes, gold share in foreign exchange reserve, as I said, around 11.7. So not 17, it has risen to 16.7%. Foreign currency assets 80%, gold reserve 16.7. SDRs are special drawing rights, you will study them later on, and reserve position in IMF, this is 0.9%. This is the money that is there with the IMF, which we can take out any time. Okay? So this is our foreign exchange reserves together.
So can you show the ranking?
Ranking, this ranking? This ranking, yes, how can I forget that? India is 4th with respect to the foreign exchange reserve. China is first with $3.3 trillion of foreign exchange reserves. Right, that means around 5 times. Japan is $1.25 trillion. right, of foreign exchange. Switzerland, right? So Switzerland, such a small country, right? Our so many states are bigger than that. Population to chhod hi dijiye aap, right? Bangalore may have more population than Switzerland. Then you have India, that is $705 billion. I think this is the time where we peaked, right? And at January 1st of around 15th of January, when economic service was about to release, it was 705. Now it is going down a bit. Okay? Then you have Taiwan, Saudi Arabia, Hong Kong, South Korea, Singapore. On the map you will see a dot which is Singapore. That Singapore has $390 billion worth of foreign exchange. One important thing, the $705 billion is enough for us to manage 11 months of imports. The global requirement generally of a runway is 6 months. So you should have at least 6 months of foreign exchange to import. We have 11 months sorted. ठीक है? चलिए. Yes. Legal thing. Okay, ठीक है. Buying and holding of foreign assets under the RBI Act. This is under the RBI Act. RBI does open market operation under the RBI Act. All the activities of RBI comes under the RBI Act. It's not related anywhere in the constitution. Okay? RBI is a statutory body, not a constitutional body. So any question comes, RBI is this right, that right, majorly it is coming from the RBI Act only. Yes. Okay. What is this global context and significance? I have already told you geopolitical tensions are there. Countries are actively purchasing the gold. India is one of them. Then you have China, Poland and Uzbekistan. This is the top 10 countries with respect to gold reserves. United States of America, 8,133 tons of gold. Now their foreign exchange reserves are not higher than China, but you can see their gold is higher because they don't hold other countries' currency, because they don't need to, because the entire world uses their own currency. Okay? That is why they don't have it. Then second, Germany, 3,350. Very, very famous for its cars, for its industries. Germany has cutting edge technologies in industries. Then you have Italy, France, Russia, China, and this is where India is, 880 tons of gold. Okay? Chaliye.
Recently, the PM said that not to buy gold, right?
I don't even have money to buy gold. Yes. What about that?
Yeah, so why is that?
Because the idea is we have this much of gold. We have this much of gold, but this is monetary gold which RBI has kept. So if I go to a jeweler's shop and I buy, I'm not going to get it from here as such. That's point number one. Point number two, see, when the PM has said to not buy and all that, see, the thing is, issue was there 2 months back only, when the month of February and March was happening. Conflict was there, US, Israel attacking Iran. So the crude oil is going to go down, production goes down, energy goes down, geopolitical instability, the prices of crude oil, energy is going to go up. So we are going to have to still import, because those are compulsory imports, right? So then we have to lower our other imports to pay the dollars for these imports. Is that correct? Right. So that is the idea, wherein you lower this so that we can still buy the crude oil and ensure our foreign exchange reserves are stable. Now the leader of the opposition at that time and the opposition at that time also said that the situation is not good, take some actions, do something. What are you doing? Tell us. But at that moment of time, elections were due. Now since the elections were due, you cannot, our politicians are not so good that they will still be upfront and forward and say that don't buy gold, don't do this, don't do that, because we are in a terrible situation, because that will affect them politically. So they waited for it, and when it was their necessity, they had convoys and doing all the publicity as much as they want in a single day in multiple states. Everything was done. Now the moment the election results are out, the work is done for them. Now the onus is basically put on to the people to basically not do this, not do that, not buy this, not buy that. Now what should happen is, this triangle is very important. If there is any restrictions that are coming, it should be top to bottom. It should be top to bottom, right? Whenever any benefits are coming, it should be bottom to top, but the government never does that. So when the demonetization took place and the government said use UPI, GPay, PhonePe, etc., what you should have done is you declare that all the political fundings will take place only through the digital medium, not at all. You are expecting a vegetable vendor to use a UPI, fair enough, but the political funding is still allowed in cash. So that is not what should be done. That is when people will raise voice, because the system is what? People, civil government, and then the army. This is the precedence, right? So these are the service providers which have to. So if the PM comes and says that, boss, this is my entire cabinet and this is my executive body, each and every one's gold holding, I am putting it in public domain, and I am ensuring that they will not buy any unnecessary, non-necessary gold, and 1 year later I will again show you that, right? What would have happened? It would have created impact. That is a leader leading by example. But such things did not happen. So should we be lowering it? Probably yes, lower that. It is better to, unnecessarily gold. If you are just buying it, maybe you can avoid that. Maybe you can do carpooling. Maybe you can do all that. The issue is, so that is the need of the hour, fair enough. That can be done anytime as well. The issue is that the onus is always on the public, right? The onus is always on the public, and the leaders don't lead with example. So that is a biggest criticism of that. And after the uproar by the public, now there is a complete circus that has started. That people are coming on bike to the legislative assembly. People are coming on a single car. People are coming on bus. Now someone has walked to the legislative assembly or parliament, I don't know. Now, so right now people are posting all this. Calm down. Let's let 1-2 months go back and let's see whether that same person is walking every single day alone and barefoot or by foot or not. So all those things are gimmick. Okay. Also, this also shows the incompetence that we have to tell the government, that the people, that this is what you have to do. And what the government has done, you have raised a request on one side, right? Saying that it is just a request I am doing. But on the other side, you have increased the import duty on gold to 15%. That means what? It is no longer a request. It was never a request. You have penalized the people by increasing the import duty. So how is it a request? It's not a request. It's an increase in price by the government over there.
How does that help, sir? Like how does having less imports of gold can help us?
No, that does help. See, to import gold, we have to pay in dollars. So basically, you have $700 billion. Now RBI is using this billions of dollars for open market operations to ensure that the rupee does not depreciate. Now this has gone down to 650 now. Okay? So that is, it does help, but it is as the government itself says, sabka saath, sabka vikas, sabka vishwas, sabka prayas. I told in the class today. So effort should be of everyone, and it should start from the top and then percolate to the bottom. It should not be starting at the bottom and the onus on that. In that case, you are talking about not going for the foreign tours. So all those things, you give the bureau of everything, that no one from my thing will go out for tours. But that's of course never going to happen. Okay? Surely. Let's move ahead. Yes. So this is, I think, the last one. ILO's complaint by the tea planters. So tea planters have basically made a complaint under Article 24 of the International Labour Organization, right? So this article becomes important over here. So under this article, who can file a complaint? Only the trade unions, employer organization and industrial associations basically can file. So if you have a tea plantation trade union, not students as in agriculture workers trade union, industrial workers trade union, center of Indian trade union C2 that is there, which is CPIM's trade union. So these trade unions can file a complaint. So the complaint has been filed. Who cannot file is individual citizens cannot file over here. An NGO without industrial association status. So generally NGOs also cannot file, but the unions and associations can file over there. Okay. So let's just, Yes, I think it's the same repeat slide. So what is this? Article 24, and what is its scope? Scope is that it will be applicable only if the country has ratified an ILO convention. What do you mean by ratification? See, the country can be a member of ILO. We are the member of ILO. But then this ILO can bring out various conventions. So far, let's say 10 conventions, important conventions are there. Of this, 6 have been ratified by India. Ratification means you are going to make effort to implement the same thing in the country. So what you do is you also put it to vote in the parliament, and in the parliament it passes the vote. Because the government is in power, simple majority, it passes the vote. That means it has been ratified. That means India will move according to the ILO convention which is there. That means we have made a pledge to follow this. That is what the meaning of ratification is. It is more than just being in favor. It also means that you will go and implement it. Okay? So what is the allegation here? Allegation is that there is a failure in implementing the ILO convention. That is what has been the allegation. So what is the procedure under this? So first, representation will be submitted to ILO. So if you are claiming that there is an issue and things are not being followed, so you will submit your report representation to the body. That body will examine the complaint that you have made. And if it finds that the complaint is genuine, it's a usual complaint procedure. If they find the complaint is genuine, it will be moved forward to the concerned government. So you have gone to the ILO. Now ILO will send it back to the concerned government in India. Which government will be? The central government will in India will be notified if ILO finds that there is merit in this complaint. Okay? Why ILO will send to government of India? Because government of India has ratified it in the ILO. So ILO will then say, if you have ratified it, why are you not following it? That is why it will be sent back. Now, when it is received by the government will then be required to give a response to that. Everyone is given a time to respond, so the government will be given a response to that. Okay. Now, next is, what if the response is unsatisfactory? Okay. Response is unsatisfactory means the response of the government is unsatisfactory. Then it will be dealt under Article 25 of the ILO convention. So remember, complaint is filed under 24 and the unsatisfactory response is going to be dealt with in the Article 25. So if it is unsatisfactory, who's finding it unsatisfactory? ILO. What will ILO do? ILO will publish the government's response. Okay? So if we complain to ILO tells the government of India to respond, government responds, ILO finds it satisfactory, not a problem. It will tell us, boss, everything is right, this is what they have responded. But it finds it's not satisfactory, it is going to make the government of India's response public to the world. Okay? What will that do? It will basically put pressure. It will basically put pressure. It will amount to naming and shaming effect. That this is what the labours of the country has said and this is what the government of the country has responded. Right? It is a diplomatic pressure. Why only a diplomatic pressure? Because ILO does not have the power to impose sanctions, to impose penalties on a sovereign country, because we are a sovereign country. We govern ourselves on our own. We are not a dominion of anyone. So this international organization cannot impose sanctions, penalties, etc. on us. That is why the only thing that it can do is create diplomatic pressure by making the complaint as well as the government response public. Okay? Clear? Now this is some important facts with respect to ILO. India has ratified 6 out of the 10 core ILO conventions. Some of them: abolition of forced labor convention, equal remuneration convention, worst forms of child labor convention. So these conventions in your reader is also given with the name. You try to remember with the name, because a couple of times, one time with the name, with the number, convention number 105. So you should know ILO's convention number 105. At least the 6 that India has ratified, please read those numbers. Okay? So importance of the issue, what issues they have highlighted: labor exploitation is happening, wage inequality is there, tribal and indigenous rights issues are there. Tribals and indigenous rights industries are getting established and the tribals are being moved out. All those things are there. Weak implementation of labor protection, so safety net is not present. Okay. India has, however, become the second biggest safety net provider in the world, because there are total 94 crore beneficiaries of the welfare efforts of the government of India. But the issue is, that's just a number. That means anyone who have used one single thing also will be counted as a beneficiary, right? But is the benefit enough? Is the safety net enough? And it is not just that you are getting the money, your rights and all are also very important. So you can see two contrasting things. At one side, we have become the biggest safety net provider by having 94 crore beneficiaries under the government of India's ambit or some or the other scheme. But on the other side, this is the problem we are facing. Yes, guys, any questions? Significance is, it will provide diplomatic pressure. Okay, accountability will be established. That all we know. But the issue is, ILO cannot impose economic sanctions, direct legal penalties. It cannot do. It can just have moral and diplomatic pressure on the country. Okay, any questions? No, chali, let's quickly solve the questions then. With reference to the mission for cotton productivity, consider the following statements. The mission aims to promote climate smart and pest resistant cotton varieties. The mission is implemented solely by the Ministry of Textiles. That is incorrect. The moment you find this is incorrect, so you get the answer directly. Okay? Now, since we do the topic and immediately solve, it becomes a bit easier, but the facts may be feeling difficult when you solve it later on different questions. Next. Which one of the following best explains the recent trend of strategic gold repatriation by the RBI? To replace SDRs? No. To comply with IMF conditions regarding reverse diversification? No. To reduce dependence on domestic currency circulation? No. To enhance sovereign control over the reserves amid geopolitical uncertainties. Okay. Under Article 24 of the Constitution of the International Labour Organization, which of the following entities is eligible to file a representation against a member state? Citizen is incorrect. NGO is incorrect. International Human Rights Organization is recognized by the United Nations. No. Industrial associations such as trade unions or employers organizations, they can basically file. With reference to corporatization of India's major ports, consider the following. Major Ports Authority Act of 2021 replaced the Major Port Trusts Act 1963. Has it replaced? We want to transition from here to here. It has not replaced. This is their trust. Now still it is being ruled as governed in trust only. There is one port in Innor which is under the corporatization now. Now our idea is to move away from this completely to that. Okay? So presently then corporatization facilitates the landlord model. I'll tell you the landlord model in port governance. Third, Kamraj Port was India's first corporatized port. Yes, that's correct. 1 is incorrect. Right, B, 2 and 3 is correct. Now corporatization facilitates landlord model. Landlord model means I am the landlord, I am giving this to you on lease, you do what you want to do. Let's say like sharecropping, or let's say tenants are there, agricultural tenants. So you own the land, they pay you 50,000 per year and they do the agriculture on the land and they gain on all the profits that might be there. That is the landlord model. Okay. Next, which one of the following union India was formed as a split from the All India Trade Union Congress? Yes, see, this is affiliated to CPIM. This is affiliated to RSS, Indian National Trade Union Congress, the All India Trade Union Congress. Yes, बताइए. हाँ? D or C? No, C is not there. It will be Hind Mazdoor Sabha. These are there. This is a leftist party. This has been replaced by the Congress in the state of Kerala. ठीक है? This is Rashtriya Swayam Sevak Sangh, headquartered in Nagpur, Maharashtra, where I come from. ठीक है? Completely different. This is leftist, this is rightist. AITUC is centrist. So I don't know whether they are or not. Centrist means whenever you want, whatever way, you can basically go that way. Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, so this is the answer. ठीक है? So this too you can easily eliminate, because this is what showcases that there has been fragmentation of the trade union based on the political dimensions also, which has made it more difficult. Now the people affiliated to the Bharatiya Mazdoor Sangh cannot do anything about it. ठीक है? Sure. So that's about it. Thank you guys. See you in the next class. Yes. Sure. Thank you.